If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you're probably a little disappointed because you guys just went ahead and signed Mitchell Trubisky. And I wanted to let you know it's not that black and white. No, I'm not here to tell you that Mitchell Trubisky is going to win a Super Bowl, but I did feel like I needed to give you guys a different side of the equation just so you could understand where you guys are currently at as a team and why a lot of good could come from this signing. Before we get to the content, we are giving away another $500 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. We're doing another $500 for a follower of ours on Instagram. And now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The story of Mitchell Trubisky began when he was the first quarterback taken over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And to be fair, no one really could have predicted Patrick Mahomes would be Patrick Mahomes. And I personally believe that Patrick Mahomes on the wrong team would just be a souped up Matthew Stafford when he was on the Detroit Lions. But needless to say, Mitchell Trubisky was supposed to be better than all of them. Mitchell Trubisky so far in his career isn't even close to the rest of those quarterbacks. And ultimately, as a result, he has shown some flashes of promise throughout his career, primarily in his first full season under Matt Nagy, when the Chicago Bears traded for Khalil Mack and were a doink away from greatness in the NFL playoffs. For the most part, his entire career has been hampered with the fact that he didn't really have much confidence in himself, some very questionable mechanics, and the fact that his head coach, I think it's fair to say, wasn't necessarily the most brilliant head coach when it came to trying to make the most out of his talents. Now, I'm not saying that Mitchell Trubisky is a remarkable QB, but when you see what Matt Nagy did with Justin Fields, you could tell that this is a man that doesn't cater to his players' strengths, rather expects his players to cater to his strengths. And that's a very old school philosophy that doesn't fly in this new era of head coaches that are coming out of the Sean McVay factory. But as a result of that, the Chicago Bears moved on from Mitchell Trubisky for Justin Fields. Justin Fields didn't have that much luck this past year with Matt Nagy either. And now the Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy experiment is officially over in Chicago, and they brought in a brand new Ryan and a brand new Matt. Ironically, I don't know if that's ever happened in NFL history, but the question is, what's next for Mitch? Well, Mitchell Trubisky went to the Buffalo Bills and played behind Josh Allen for a little bit. He claims that this time was absolutely game-changing for him. It absolutely opened his eyes to what he needed to do to become a better pro, claiming that after being in Chicago for 4 years, there was only one way he knew how to do things, and being in Buffalo and having a different way of doing things, learning what's possible, helped him get back to instinctual football and using his talents rather than overthinking. Bear in mind, man, if there's one thing Mitchell Trubisky has always been really good at, it's impressing people with his charm. I mean, the man talked his way into the number 2 overall pick, if you ask me, but Brian Daboll is kind of known to be a quarterback whisperer as a result of what he was able to do with Josh Allen. Regardless, whether this is just a clever wordplay just so he could get signed by a good team, which is what he should try to do, might I add, or whether the team that inevitably signed him got duped into signing him like the Chicago Bears did, the stakes aren't nearly as high at this point. Now, through his entire free agency, Mitchell Trubisky was actually a highly sought after candidate. He was getting very much hyped up. Jordan Schultz reported that during the draft combine, Mitchell Trubisky was a hot topic to discuss, mainly because this year's quarterback draft class is lacking depth. And whenever there's a weak quarterback draft class, which is what is incoming supposedly, then you can't really blame the Pittsburgh Steelers for what they're about to do, especially when their only other contingency plans to succeed Ben Roethlisberger are Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Because according to Mikerophone, and of course verified by Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, the Pittsburgh Steelers have reached an agreement on a 2-year deal with quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. The former number 2 overall pick heads to Pittsburgh as the expected starter in place of the retired Ben Roethlisberger. Now, I know Pittsburgh Steelers fans are looking at this saying, what the hell? Why are we going after Mitchell Trubisky? And here's the thing, man. Whenever you don't really have a promising succession plan in place for your QB, then you're pretty much resorting to throwing darts at a dartboard. Because I don't think Mitchell Trubisky is being brought to the Pittsburgh Steelers to be the the starter. Do you really think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to say, hey, we have Mitchell Trubisky, no point in trying to draft Matt Corral or Malik Willis, no point in trying to draft Sam Howell or any of the other quarterbacks that are potentially slated to go off the board within the first 3 rounds? No, I think this is just them doing their part and trying to throw as many darts at the dartboard as possible and hoping that they hit on a player. Mitchell Trubisky is going to be in a similar situation as Andy Dalton was last year. You remember when the Chicago Bears signed Andy Dalton to that 1-year, $10 million contract and then drafted Justin Fields? It's not like the Pittsburgh Steelers can come up and straight up tell you, hey, by the way, we are only signing Mitchell Trubisky, but we're also going to draft a quarterback as well. That's not how this works. Ultimately, I think what they're trying to do is, and don't get it twisted, for all you know, Mitchell Trubisky could potentially be the starting QB for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, or it could be Mason Rudolph. I really doubt it's going to be Dwayne Haskins, or it could be Malik Willis or Matt Corral or any other quarterback that they end up drafting. But the thing is, in this situation, you need to throw as many darts at the dartboard as you possibly can. You need to try to hit on a quarterback as fast as you can. At the very worst, Mitchell Trubisky seems like a nice guy to have in your quarterback room and should help the development of any high quarterback draft pick, especially considering the volatility of his career thus far. He seems like a great teammate at the very minimum, and who knows, if he is the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm anticipating that he's going to be used very similarly to the way Taylor Heineke was used for the Washington Commanders. All in all, I'm surprised Mitchell Trubisky would want to go to the Steelers as opposed to any of these other quarterback needy teams, and I'm surprised that he jumped this quick in signing a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers because they seem to be very competitive. At least over there, that quarterback room is set to be fairly competitive. So that is the only thing that surprises me on this situation. But make no mistake about it, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, you guys are in a situation where you do have other holes on your team. Your offensive line is a shell of its former self. You guys do have some cap space, but obviously that cap space is better used to try to fix the offensive line and other holes on your team. Maybe they want to spend that draft capital on other aspects of their team as well. This gives them flexibility moving forward. If the quarterback that they want falls to them in the NFL draft, then they'll be able to select him and probably move forward with him. Or maybe they want to draft a brand new offensive lineman, or maybe a brand new linebacker, or a brand new cornerback. Either way, this signing gives them flexibility. I don't think it's as bad as you guys think it is because he's not being overpaid at all whatsoever. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about the signing. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.